Hi 2B. Today for Listen to Reading, we are going to read Hurricane Hunters and Tornado Chasers. And this is written by Gary Jeffery and illustrated by Gianluca Garofalo. Needed to work on that one. You can see the title or the cover. And it says Graphic Careers. Here is the title page. See if we discover anything more about what this book will be about. I think that the title of the story is very telling about what you'll read, but I know you will be surprised about the format or the way that these authors and illustrators chose to tell this story. Now we have a contents page, so you can pause the video if you want, because then you can read what we will be reading about. This book is quite long, so we won't finish it today. We're just going to start reading it. Let's see. Hurricane Hunters. Tropical cyclones are large storm systems that develop over the world's warm southern oceans. Hurricanes are tropical cyclones that form in the Atlantic and northeast Pacific and then travel upwards towards the southeastern United States. Riders on the storm. Hurricane hunters are paid to fly through some of the worst weather on Earth. Their mission is to gather data on the state of the storm and relay it by radio to a weather lab. Can you tell me what a hurricane hunter is? Okay, we're going to reread that to see if we can. Hurricane hunters are paid to fly through some of the worst weather on Earth. Their mission is to gather data on the state of the storm and relay it by radio to a weather lab. They work out the direction or track of a storm by crisscrossing through the central eye. The winds circling the eye can rage at speeds of up to 260 kilometers per hour. So the eye of the storm, you can see right there, is the space within the storm where there isn't wind, there isn't craziness, but it's right in the center, and everything around it is crazy. It is all of those high 260 kilometers per hour winds. So the eye is where these hurricane hunters travel to. And then there's a caption. A 2005 satellite image shows Hurricane Rita almost covering the Gulf of Mexico. Rita caused havoc on the Louisiana and Texas coasts. Imagine the effects of this. What it did to the land, what it did to the people. First flight. It was a U.S. Air Force colonel named Joseph Duckworth who pioneered the technique of flying through hurricanes. He flew his AT-6 Texan through the center of the 1943 surprise hurricane twice to win a bet about the plane's strength. And there's a caption. Today's military hurricane hunters are specially equipped Hercules transports called WC-130s. They are flown by the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron out of Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, USA. So, I even messed up on those words, but here is a picture of the type of planes that are used now when hurricane hunters are doing their jobs. Let's read a little bit more. Observe, report, and stay safe. Civilian hunts are undertaken by the Aircraft Operations Center of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's a lot of words. And what they put here, NOAA, it stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, but they make it a little easier for the reader. So from now on in the story, it'll say NOAA instead of that very long title. Based in Tampa, Florida, USA. Their largest aircraft, WP-3D Orions, are based on a tough old airliner design. packed with equipment and their 16-member crews. The Orions tackle the most challenging missions. One of these, the launching of parachute probes at low altitude, gathers vital data on air pressure and sea surface temperature. I wonder what air pressure and sea surface temperature have to do with hurricanes. The eye wall of Hurricane Katrina is made up of layer upon layer of thunderstorms. Forces in the eye wall can test an aircraft to its very limits and beyond. And here's a caption. Weather labs use the Hurricane Hunter's data to predict a storm's strength at landfall. Landfall means once it hits the land, because storms start up in the sky and then they reach the land at some point. Hurricanes destroy with their winds and by flooding from storm surge, seen here in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Early warning can aid evacuation. So what can people do if they know that there's a storm surge and they know a hurricane is coming? Early evacuation. So there's all the flooding. That water is not supposed to be there, guys. That happened because of the storm surge before Hurricane Katrina. Here are pages 4 and 5. If you want to pause the video now to look at the pictures or reread, you can go ahead and do that. The next thing we will read about is tornado chasers. Tornadoes are rapidly rotating columns of air that can reach down from the bases of huge thunderstorms. Tornadoes are the most violent storms on the planet. Why chase tornadoes? Why is it that some supercell thunderstorms spawn tornadoes while others don't? How does tornadogenesis occur? Meteorologists need answers if they want to predict future outbreaks. Severe weather specialists chase and capture tornadoes using video, photography, and radar. And here's a caption. Chased by a team from the U.S. National Severe Storms Lab in 1995, the Dimmitt tornado in Texas is the most thoroughly observed storm in history so far. Tornadoes can be killers, like this twister that struck Union City, Oklahoma, USA in 1973. The first to have its life cycle captured on radar, the Union City tornado helped scientists develop the early warning systems we have today. And that is what happened after that tornado hit. That used to be a car. I'm not sure what's up there. And all of this, I assume, was houses or buildings. I think that it's a piece of the car up there. Patience and caution. Chasers in the Midwest USA form a recognizable community. To be successful, the storm spotters, meteorologists, amateur chasers, and tour operators rely on each other for information and help, especially if they get into difficulties. There are many potential hazards, from extreme winds, falling debris, and lightning strikes to increase risk of car accidents. Here's the caption. Fewer than 20% of all supercells will spawn a tornado. So a supercell or a cyclone is what exists, and they can become a tornado, but they don't always. That's why they said fewer than 20%. So less than 2 out of every 10 cyclones will become a tornado. No one knows when or where they will happen. Thousands of kilometers can be covered in fruitless search. Information gathering. Cell phones, laptop computers, and satellite navigation are the tools of the modern chaser. Doppler trucks carry radar equipment. Other vehicles have weather stations. Wireless internet enables live feeds of the developing storm on the road. A fleet of chase cars have roof-mounted sensors to measure wind speed and direction, air temperature, and humidity. I wonder how all of those things are connected to tornadoes as well. A visual display from a Doppler truck shows a tornado in progress, and this is a Doppler radar truck. Here are pages 6 and 7. You can go ahead and pause it now if you want to review the pictures or the writing. And now this is where the book gets really interesting, but I'm going to save this for Thursday. Becomes a little bit of a comic. It says, Jeffrey Masters, Flight Director, Hurricane Hunter 42. A native of Detroit, Michigan, USA, Jeffrey Masters completed his master's degree in meteorology in 1983, and by 1986 had joined the NOAA. Does anyone remember what it stands for? I need to look again. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Aircraft Operations Center in Miami. So it's starting to set up the story of Jeffrey Masters. It looks like he goes on some pretty intense adventures. But we will have to read this on Thursday. I hope that you learned something new about hurricanes, tornadoes, hurricane hunters, tornado chasers, or how weather and climate are connected to these two natural disasters.